Welcome, everybody, to the Rotary Club of Highlands Ranch new meeting. I'm subbing for Tom Eaton, who's out of town. We're going to start today's meeting with Phil Clark, who's going to lead us in the inspiration and pledge. So if I could get everyone's attention so Phil has some respect around here.
Thank you, Bill. It's so nice to see all of you out here. I mean, seriously, my Thursdays are my best day of the week. It's wonderful to have you out here. And I wanted to, in the way of inspiration, I want to do a couple things. One is, I want to think very locally about the people that come to these meetings when they're in excruciating pain, and I'm thinking particularly right now of her Green Growth, who was under surgery today for her back. But yet she's been here week after week, smiling through the thing. It's amazing to me. And I think of Elaine Calder, and you probably will be watching this later. We're in England right now, and the unbelievable heat that they're at, and the way that she came back from her surgery and just doing her job during the time that she felt terrible. Anyway, it's just inspiring to me that that sort of thing. Oh, there's a little something from her. And another thing that I'd like to do right now is to show some people who are inspired about being in our club. And this is on our website right now, but I think probably a lot of you haven't seen it. So we're going to show it right now in the way of inspiration.
I've been a member for about 5-6 years now, and I'm a proud Rotarian.
I think there's plenty of people in our community who make incredible Rotarians, do the kind of work we do, but don't know that there's a group that they can join to become one.
I was in a
Let's stand up and do the pledge of allegiance. We'll come back and just give them a couple of seconds to work on that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's make it burn. Okay. So if we got that other speaker off, you can go with just this front speaker, maybe? I don't know. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens.
Take two.
Oh, it's starting already. It's not going back to the beginning.
It's not, can't drag it back to the beginning. I've got it at the beginning, but like, it sounds right.
Okay, we'll go with plan B, you guys. Okay, we're going to go with plan B because I would like all of you, when you get the chance, take a look at our website and look at this public relations group put this together. I think it turned out really well. I thank all the people that were involved in giving their inspirational thoughts about being in the club because it's really remarkable the way they do it. I mean, my son did the editing and it's wonderfully done. Cuts back and forth with different people. The music behind it, it's pretty inspirational. So finally, I want to say that, do you remember the band? Anybody know the band with Robbie Robertson playing lead guitar?
The band.
Robbie Robertson had a saying, which I like. I'm going to leave you with that. He said, bring on tomorrow. I want a little of that on me. Thank you.
All right, I would echo Phil's encouragement to take a look at that little video. It's just a minute and a half, and it's wonderfully done. It's a nice representation of our club, and I think it can be used as a recruiting tool or just sort of make you feel good about being part of the club. So check that out when you have a few minutes on the website. All right, we've got a few guests with us today. Are you want to introduce your guest now, Mindy, or you want to wait till your program?
I can do it now.
Why don't you do it now?
All right. I've got two guests with me today. They have been here before, but first I'll introduce Courtney Bailey. She is my office manager and here as well. And then I'll also introduce Mindy, Courtney's husband. Helps a lot around the house.
Glad to have both of you here, and you're welcome anytime, so come back and see us. Kelsey, you want to introduce your guest, please?
Weston Wood, he has his own merchant services credit card processing. Does more than just that. We met through networking. And of course, I was preaching the gospel of Rotary.
Welcome, glad to have you here. And I know Giovanni is hiding back there, but I can see you. Why don't you stand up and make yourself a little bit more visible? And Ray, you'll introduce him?
Yes, Giovanni is back for the second time, and he's talking to me about filling out an application.
All right, welcome. Any other guests, visiting Rotarians? Did I miss anybody? Robin, you're a member. Everybody, wave your hand, Robin Aguilar, in case you don't know. She's our newest member, and I see Zig, you're back there from a long, short hiatus, so welcome back. And I think I recognize most everybody else. Okay, new members, let's see. Okay, without any further ado, Sue is going to introduce our special fellow Rotarian program. Here you go.
Okay, dare I try and do this? There, I did it for you. Okay, today, our speaker really doesn't need to be introduced because she's one of our own, Mindy Hendrik. But what you may not know about her is she's been a chiropractor for 11 years with a specialty in that horrible area, upper neck. The technology she uses is utilized by less than 5% of the chiropractors worldwide, so it's pretty specialized work she does. Mindy grew up in a Rotarian household, and she went through the ranks of Interact, RILA, and Rotaract, and she's going to talk to us today about brain health and a very unusual approach to longevity. We all need that. So please welcome Mindy.
As I get started, I'm going to need a volunteer who's willing. Oh, perfect. You don't even know what I'm going to do yet. But.
Sometimes that's the exciting
Here, take this rubber band, wrap it around your wrist, wrap it again. Can you do one more? Yeah, can you do one more?
No, probably that'll definitely snap towards Steve.
All right, just hang out with that for a minute, okay? So, do I tell you when I need to do the slides? How do we?
Just let us know.
Okay, so you can go to the next one. How's that feeling on your wrist there over there?
When you talk about it, I'm more conscious and it doesn't feel so good.
Okay.
I'm trying to ignore it.
Okay, good. Don't worry, we won't keep you there for too long. So we're going to start by talking about the U.S. healthcare system. So we have one of the most sophisticated healthcare systems in the world. We have more doctors and the brilliant minds of these doctors these days. And we have the best medical schools, the best hospitals. We lead the world in technology and research. We spend more money than any country in the world, about $2.9 trillion last year on healthcare. Go to the next slide, please. The United States is the most medicated country in the world. Americans consume 68% of all the drugs in the world. Half of Americans take at least one prescription drug on a daily basis. And in constant dollars, Americans spend more than $300 billion on prescriptions. That's up from $104 billion in 1999. And go to the next slide, please. What are we getting for this $2.9 trillion? Emergency care, trauma care, and crisis care. Next slide, please. Crisis and emergency health problems account for less than 1% of all the health problems. So how well does our healthcare system do with the remaining 99%? Go ahead and switch. So the US ranks 79th out of 81 among industrialized nations, according to their health index. And our major crises, our major problems are these things: heart disease, cancer, diabetes, infectious disease, autoimmune conditions, and iatrogenic diseases. That is when the problem is actually caused by the medical intervention itself. That's an iatrogenic disease. So the problem is our model of healthcare. How's your hand doing over there?
I kind of forget about it, but.
Would you come up here for just a second? Thank you.
Speaking of healthcare.
I know.
Yeah.
All right, we're supposed to say that. So if we hold his hand up, should I pour some medicine on it? Will that fix the problem? Should I massage it? Is that gonna help it? How about some physical therapy? Let's do some physical therapy.
Drugs.
Yeah, drugs.
Yeah.
We'll just give you a painkiller. I got a Band-Aid we could put on there.
It's not fixing the root cause.
It's not fixing the root cause. You can go ahead and take the rubber band off. What is the obvious answer here?
Take the rubber band off.
Yes. Thank you so much for that. I hope
Thank
you guys
you.
are feeling back in your time.
Good job.
There's not a single medical or science textbook or encyclopedia in the world that defines health based on symptoms only. There's a reason we have symptoms. So in that situation, if we just try to cover up the pain, if we just try to band-aid the symptom, you don't get to the root cause or to the major problem of what's actually happening in the body. So Dorland's Medical Dictionary defines health as a condition of optimum physical, social, and mental and spiritual well-being, not merely the absence of disease or infirmities. Health then is the state of being sound in mind, in body or mind, and not simply freedom from physical disease. Go ahead and switch the slide, please. So health does not come from a lotion, a potion, a shot, or a pill. Health comes from within. Health comes from that vital life force, the same life force that turns the sunflower to the sun, the same life force that allows that hummingbird to migrate and knows when it's time to do that. That's what keeps you alive from the inside out. If you cut your finger, what happens? You bleed, right? We could put Neosporin down and we could protect it with a Band-Aid, but that healing occurs from the inside out. That doesn't happen because you put Neosporin on it. That's gonna protect it from germs, but the healing is from within. If you cut a cadaver, it's not gonna bleed out like you would when you're alive, when you're full of that vital life force. So how do we take care of that? And what does that have to do with quality of life? Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. Americans are living longer. This is great news because we have a longer lifespan. We have that longevity ahead of us. And as you are all sitting here in this room, I know that you are aging well and you are in a much better place than a lot of people because you're here, you're socializing, you're getting out and you're volunteering and you're moving. And I say that because I work as a certified nurse aide part-time as needed at PRN position because I love the patient care. And I'm working with memory care and with people who are in their 60s and their 70s and beyond that. So they're very young, but they're experiencing a big decline in health for various reasons. They're not out here at Rotary events engaging with each other. So not only is Rotary good for society, it's good for you too as an individual. But the human life is expectancy, but is the quality of our lives increasing? And is our quality of life matching our life expectancy? Well, some people would say yes, and some people, like those I take care of in memory care, would say no. So let's go to the next slide, please. So we're talking about combating the aging process through posture and movement. So the beginning of the disease process begins with postural distortions. Next slide. Thank you. So posture, is there a way to get that top bar off? I don't know if they're not. So what we're finding, this isn't just a chiropractic thing. This is from the American Medical Association. Poor posture results in disease. It is well documented that poor posture leads to different diseases in people that have intestinal problems, hemorrhoids, varicose veins, osteoporosis, hip and foot deformities, poor health, decreased quality of life. That's a big one right there. And then shortened lifespan. We go to the next one, please. Keeping you on your toes. So as our posture declines, so does our health. And the reason is because not only if we're posturally sinking in and our body's moving forward and our posture is decreasing, it is going to affect the way that we feel, but the way that we function. So this is important. To understand movement is to understand the whole brain. It is brain-based. And therefore it's important to remember when you are studying, memory, cognition, sensory processing, they're all there for a reason, and that all influences the brain. Next page again. This is a staggering statistic that we know now. So more people die of a sedentary lifestyle than from smoking. You might have heard that before, that being sedentary is the new smoking. And that's because we're not getting the vital information to our brains that we need. Our muscles aren't moving, we're not getting the cardiovascular health that we need as well. Next page, please. So the joints in the body, we talk about mobility in all the joints. That becomes very important as we age all the time, but specifically as we age. I mean, I'm pushing 40 and I already know that there's some joint differences now than there were 10 years ago. So the joints act as sensory chambers in the body. Not only are they vital for our movement, but they actually sense the information from the world around us and send that signaling to the brain through the central nervous system, which modulates our health and our muscle function. You can go to the next page, please. So the brain interprets all these signals. It's called proprioception. That's the body's learning where it is in space, learning how to stay upright, processing where we are, how we're not falling out of our chairs all the time. Your body's constantly adapting. Your postural muscles are constantly adapting to how you're sitting, how you're standing, and how you're moving. And it's important to keep that firing for brain function. The brain is actually, its most important role is to keep you functioning properly, and it needs that constant stimulation. Go ahead and do the next slide, please. And keeping your body in homeostasis, that's wellness, that's being healthy, that's functioning normally. And next one. So now, it's your turn. I'm gonna pull this chair up here, and you can all do this. If you've seen me before, you know I like to be interactive, so everybody sit up in your chairs, if you can see. The first one here is a seated wall angel. So all you're gonna do is pretend like you're making a snow angel without hitting your neighbor. Bring your arms up over your head, and back down. There you go. So this is stretching out your pec muscles. It's also actually going to engage your diaphragm, which is involved with breathing. We all need to get more oxygen in. And this is stimulating the proprioceptive pathways into your brain. Okay, so the next one, I don't know where my phone was. The next one, we're actually going to talk about some ankle movements. So again, our ankles are really valuable in proprioception and our balance, which can become an issue. That's one of the major areas of balance. So you can just start rolling your feet around, front, back, all around, up in the air, on the ground. And you can do them both at the same time. Also, as you're doing that, imagine rolling your feet around. Yep. And try to get, you can do your wrists at the same time, but also with your toes, try to get your toes moving too. You're all influencing your brains right now. Good job. In a good way, yes, in a positive way. Okay, the next one we're going to do is more for the rest of the spine. It's really important to keep the motion in your spine because your spine acts like a shock absorber to gravity, to everything else, all those things counted that you're dealing with when you're riding in a car, on a bicycle, on a motorcycle. So we're going to get the spine just by starting to get the head forward and backward. That looks like a turtle. It's okay if you show us a little extra roll under your neck while you do this.
Like an Egyptian?
Yes, exactly. Like an Egyptian. And then we're going to add in the rest of the spine. I should have brought my camera. I could get a camera, but it would have been really great to put this on a Rotary website with everybody looking like a dolphin. So it's kind of like the dolphin movement, is the back and forth, and this is just stimulating the joints in your spine. And then you can get some, we call this lateral movement, side to side. You can get into your hips, you can think hula hoop kind of motion, just to get things moving. You might hear some cracking and some creaking, and that's just fine. And the beauty of this is kind of the basic stuff, but when you're at home or you have a chance, you can just take it to whatever organic movement feels good in your body. And that's really just gonna open up and stimulate your brain and keep your joints healthy. We want movement. Movement is life. So we wanna keep those joints moving as much as possible. Okay. Good job, everybody. Okay, you can go to the next one, please. So while you were doing that, what was happening is a signal was coming from your toe all the way up through the long nerve that goes to your spine, which traces all the way up to your spinal cord, to your brainstem, and to your brain. There it's processed, and then your brain sends a signal down. So this is constantly happening, not just with movement, but you just ate a meal. Now your stomach is telling your brain that it needs some acid, so you can secrete the acid and digest your food. Once that gets digested, you'll get a signal that goes back up to your brain that gives a feedback mechanism that says, okay, stop secreting the acid now. These feedback loops are happening constantly. That's what keeps you alive while you're sleeping. What can happen though is if there's any interference of that signal, it can decrease that momentum and decrease that signaling. We go to the next slide, please. This is a picture of what's called the autonomic branch of the nerve system. So there's the nerves that affect your muscles. There's the ones that we control, where I can say I want my arm to move and it moves. These are the ones that we don't have control over, our autonomic nerve system. So this is a good diagram of where the innervation comes from that affects all of your vital organs in your body. Go ahead and go to the next page, please. But here's what can happen. You have a postural distortion, back to when we talked about posture, that can affect the alignment of the spine. When the alignment of the spine is impacted, it can affect where the nerve comes out. And just the pressure of a dime is enough to interfere with that neural pathway. That's not very much pressure. And at first it's a subclinical problem. You don't feel it, you don't feel nerve pressure, you don't feel that your brain and stomach aren't working properly, until all of a sudden you have heartburn. But it takes a while. It's like the problem happens first, and then the symptom is one of the last things that you experience, and then you go to the doctor, right? So we're talking about some subclinical abnormalities or changes that can be prevented. So when that misalignment occurs, you can see how a misalignment in the neck can affect everything down below. Similarly, if something happens down in your ankle or in your extremity, it can affect everything up. It's top down, bottom up situation. Next slide, please. So we know that the upper part of the neck is a very vulnerable part. There's Christopher Reeves there. We know what happens if there is a major trauma to that area. We know what happens if there's a fracture. And would it not stand to reason though, if a major incident can cause something major, can cause paralysis, couldn't something minor cause issues as well? And that's what we find in the research that chiropractors and based on the medical profession and scientists have done too. So they actually did studies in Germany years and years ago. It would not be legal what their studies that they did. They called them wet specimens. So essentially they were studying spines pretty much at time of death. They were looking at the spine. And what they found was for the vital organ that was compromised, that was the actual cause of death, they traced that nerve back and found degeneration in that area of the spine. So they figured out that there is a big connection between what's happening with the spinal nerve root and with the vital organ that is being affected. So you can go to the next page, please. So the animal kingdom knows this. They go to the upper neck, not only do they get the jugular and the airway, but they know if they can affect the spine, if they can get to that brainstem, then they are gonna have dinner, right? So that's what they do. Go ahead and go to the next page. I just put that in there because it's important how we talk about the upper neck. So the causes of nervous system stress, or we call it in chiropractic spinal subluxation, that just means where the joint has gone out of place and it's irritating the nerves and the signal's not getting through where it's supposed to get through. Go ahead and change it again, please. So So how does this happen? Physical, chemical, and emotional stress and trauma. So those are important things, not just that impact the spine and the function of the spine, but these are the things that cause 70% of diseases globally. So that's what it is. Many of those diseases can be prevented by decreasing these types of stressors in our lives. So the physical stresses are the pretty big obvious ones, the car wrecks, the accidents, those kinds of things. Chemical stress, what we're putting in our bodies, how we're eating, and that can include pharmaceuticals sometimes, but also chemicals that we're exposed to. And then emotional stress, work stress, family stress, financial stress, those all impact our body, and those all impact our health. Next page, please. Does anybody recognize these guys up here? Yeah. So Will Smith up there, and then Dr. Bennett Omalu. And this was a picture on the premiere of the movie Concussion. So Concussion, that was about the football players who were having severe concussions and then having impacts, significant health impacts later on. They were having cognitive problems, constant headaches, migraines, dizziness, really unable to function in society. And some of them even got to a point when you're in that much pain, you don't really have a lot to live for. A lot of them lost the urge to live. So this is a really interesting kind of movie, and really the research that is happening now with these guys who have had concussions is, I think, paving the way for a lot of brain health. We go to the next slide, please. So we're going to look at the CT of a traumatic brain injury here. So what you're seeing on the left is the traumatic brain injury, and on the right, what you're going to notice is the part in the middle. It kind of looks like an X or a butterfly. That's something called a choroid plexus. It secretes something called cerebral spinal fluid, which surrounds the brain and the spinal cord. It's kind of like the amniotic fluid of the nervous system. So you can see how it's a lot bigger on the left than the right. They're supposed to be that normal, smaller size. When it gets too big on one side, it actually can cause a compression and affect the brain. The brain is in the cavity of our head, so there's not a lot of extra room if you're getting too many things in there, or too much fluid build up and back up. So go to the next slide. So that's traumatic brain injury, but what is fascinating is that this is an Alzheimer's brain. So that's that same part that we just looked at, but looking at it from a different angle. The first one was like if you slice the head this way, and the other one, this one's like if you slice this way. So this healthy brain on the left, so look how small those ventricles are, and then look at the Alzheimer's one. They're blown up again. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, now we're looking at an MS brain. Again, same thing on the very far left, relapsing MS and progressive MS on the far right. Similar problem. So these degenerative brain diseases and issues, they're now finding that there is a similar root and a similarity between those and traumatic brain injury. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So what's really cool is that there's also technology that's keeping up with this. Okay, so the slide on the left, this was done by one of my colleagues out in New York. The slide on the left is showing an MRI of a brain in an area, it says spinal stenosis on there. That's where the top of this spine is out of alignment, and it's essentially corking up the cerebral spinal fluid. So there is, on the left, at the upper part of the brain, there's really fuzzy, if you will. That's how I'll say it. It's really fuzzy. You see a lot of that white stuff, that's cerebral spinal fluid, and it almost looks skunked up in there. If you look at the right, this is 15 minutes after an upper cervical adjustment. Now, do you see how the dark wiggly lines that look like brain tissue, you can make them out a little bit better? That cerebral spinal fluid is actually coming out. It's actually allowing that to flow naturally like it should. So in the studies that they have done, some of these football players are getting their life back. They're able to function again. They're able to do what they want to do again. It's pretty incredible. Will you go to the next slide, please? I saw somebody actually yesterday who came into my office. She had been in a car accident about a year ago. She'd been to regular chiropractors, physical therapists, cognitive therapists, seen the neurologist, and still she had this womp, womp, womp feeling in her head. She just felt like she was not quite dizzy, but not quite not dizzy all the time. And so we adjusted her with the Atlas instrument, took the pressure off, and she said like that, she felt so much different. She felt like her life was back. She felt like this technology had saved her life, because when you don't get to the root cause, you can't fix the problem. So what is the role in chiropractic and healthcare? Well, what we do is a little bit more specific, especially with this technique. It's, although we do treat the pains, the aches and pains that happen, because naturally when things feel better, you feel better everywhere. But what we do is just a little bit more advanced than that and a little deeper as we look. So to see is to know, and not to see is to guess. So we take images. So we take x-rays of the neck so we can actually see where the misalignment is. We go to the next page, please. So up on the left, that's a picture of what we want a normal spine to look like. And at the bottom picture, that's what happens if there's a misalignment there. When there's a misalignment in that atlas, which is the first vertebrae of the neck, that acts like a cork, and that affects the cerebral spinal fluid like we had talked about. So the one on the right, that's a picture of an actual real-life patient there. So you can see the yellow line, well, all the yellow lines, you can see how misaligned that area is. Next picture, please. So this is also good for you to know just in general that you're supposed to have a really nice curve in your neck. Again, we talked about the shock absorption of the spine. The curves in our spine help with that shock absorption, and the discs between each of the vertebrae help with shock absorption. You've probably heard of disc degeneration or vertebral degeneration. That's when that absorption starts to go down and we start to see those bones try to fuse together almost as a protective mechanism. So there's a normal curve and there's a reversed curve. That's the picture of that. And then on the right, this is somebody that I've seen in my office lately she actually fractured her lower neck years ago. She had a fusion and she couldn't get relief. She couldn't go to a regular chiropractor who's gonna twist or crack her neck because that would not be safe for her. But this technology allows us to align that upper part of her neck and get her body right without having to worry about that lower part that had so much damage. She's doing a lot better too. Okay, next one, please. So this is the technology that we use. It's actually a percussive sound wave. So that instrument goes behind the ear, because that's where your vertebral body sits, your first vertebra in your neck, which a lot of people find interesting that it goes up this high, and it does. And so that instrument puts behind the ear and it creates a sound wave. Now, when we are lined up, we take all those x-rays so we can get a specific angle of misalignment of your upper neck, and then we align that instrument so it directs the sound wave along those correct angles, and that vibration is enough to get the atlas to sit back into place. So go ahead and do the next slide, please. Yeah, so it's painless, it's simple, it's easy. To understand health.
Is that a one-time thing or is that treatments?
It's treatments, yeah. Some people have those responses where they feel so much better right away, and I always can tell when we get the right angles, there's a difference that day. Keeping it in alignment, though, that's the hard part, because you leave the office and then we're back to physical, chemical, and emotional stress and trauma. So I tell people that keeping the atlas specifically, but the whole spine in line, that would be the holy grail if we could do that. Sometimes it's the adaptation process too. As we experience these stressors, sometimes the body has to adapt to it, and that creates misalignment in the spine. So to understand health, is to understand the central role of the brain and the nervous system in maintaining the resistance of the body. Health maintenance is the primary function of the brain, not educational thoughts, language, poetry, and other functions usually associated with the brain. So we know Sudoku is good for the brain, reading is good for the brain. We do all those things too, but if we can get the brain to function on a deeper level more optimally, get those proprioceptive channels moving, keep our posture right, then we're gonna set ourselves up for optimum health for longevity. You can go to the next slide, but that's all I have for you. Do you have any other questions? Yes.
It seems like what you do is different than a lot of chiropractors. So does insurance cover this? Because I feel like insurance likes to cover drugs, but not necessarily cover preventative stuff.
Yeah, so we'll go back to that first couple of slides in there. So I don't take insurance. Sometimes I'm not in network with anybody except for Medicare. I do take the regular old Medicare. When you get into the Advantage plans, that is a different story because they have their own little nuances. But if you have out-of-network benefits, then sometimes your insurance company will pay you directly. Unless it's a car accident, then I do take car accident cases, and that usually car insurance covers it. Yes.
So this Atlas technology, is that what it's called? Atlas?
It's called Atlas Orthogonal.
So is this the only 5% of chiropractors using this? Is that something else?
Yeah, so that 5% are people who specialize in the upper neck. And then of that 5%, there's even less of us that use this technology.
What's that little technology thing look like, or what? Can you tell us about it a little bit?
Yeah, so it looked like that picture that I had up there of the instrument. That is actually what it is. Yeah, so that's the whole thing. It's as simple as, it's even more simple than it sounds actually. So that's it. It's just the stylus that goes behind the ear creates that sound wave. And then the sound wave, you don't actually feel anything when you get adjusted because it uses that force of vibration. Any physics majors in here? Of course you would know. Of course. Yeah, so it's, I was basically we don't need a lot of force because we have it positioned so correctly. So that sound wave creates enough force that we're able to move the bone in place. Yeah. Yes.
So they come in, get the treatment, straighten them out, and you said, but you could go back to life in these 3 stresses, drugs, activity. Do you go into it with them? Because that is where the root of the problem is, right?
Mm-hmm.
You corrected it, but do you work on the root like you talked earlier?
Yes.
It's your typing or, you know, your boxing or...
Yeah, exactly. Your judo. What's funny is actually chiropractic schools have really good rugby teams. I don't know. Go figure.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they're really good. But yes, we do talk about that. We talk about setting your computer up or getting whatever ergonomics you need for work, sitting in your chair if you're commuting a lot, what you need to do to drive. I don't specialize in nutrition, but we do talk about decreasing inflammation through diet. So yes, we talk about those lifestyle factors. I saw your hand first.
Thank you so much. So my sister, who's also a lawyer, was told that from all the studying and the hunched over that she had actually destroyed her arc of life. I have no idea what that is. It sounds really important. But it made me wonder, is there a point where, you know, you could be too far gone and this technology, this Atlas technology wouldn't be effective for an individual? Would it be effective for somebody who's lost their arc of life?
Yes. And the pictures I showed of the neck were side by side. You saw the arc of life. That's the arc of life. It's the spinal curve in your neck. So they call it the arc of life. I don't know why, actually, because it is essential to have our curves. It does really help. But yes, when you lose your neck curve, that is what they're referring to in the arc of life. But what is cool is, say you lose your neck curve or the arc of life, and there's a spinal misalignment, we can get that spinal misalignment to come down. Sometimes that neck curve starts to correct itself. You correct her posture over time. She probably has tightened pec muscles too. Traps get really tight. So we work with some of the musculature, balance that out, take the pressure off, and then it can start to come back. And why I switched to this technology is because we can do so much more with this than traditional chiropractic care. So that one spine x-ray I put up of that person who actually had a fused lower neck, I wouldn't have been able to help her just with my hands. But with this technology, we can get in there and make really good changes and correct that alignment, restore some nerve function, regardless of what else is going on in the rest of the body. So even if it doesn't give her back to 100%, or her neck isn't back to what her normal neck looks like, if she gets a little bit of function back and a little bit more quality of life back, that's a win. And it's without drugs and without surgery.
One more question?
Did you have one?
I do, yeah. How is it different than like ultrasound, like therapeutic ultrasound? Is it using ultrasound, or what sort of sound technology?
Yeah, so it's just, like I said, I'm not a physicist, so I don't, some of that stuff I don't know how it works. Like I know how my car works, but I don't know how my car works, but I drive it. But it's different than ultrasound. I think it has to do with the beam and the way that it's applied. So an ultrasound is more applied over a large area over time. This is just one direct sound wave, so it just, basically, it's like sending one quick force, like an impulse. So that's more sending dispersed impulses over time. This is just a quick, specific impulse in one direction. So, yeah. I mean, if you want to talk about some of the other stuff, I could probably find out, but.
No, it's all,
yeah.
my girlfriend's a sonographer, so.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so she's using it to get that bounce back, to see the pictures of what's happening. Again, that's the longer sending the signals over time to get an image.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. All right, thank you.
Awesome. All right, thank you. Let's give Mindy Well, thank you, Mindy, for updating us. It's been a while since, and maybe no one else has ever heard sort of all that you do. So I think that's great. And it's all about sort of living healthier and living longer. And as we are aging Rotarians, it's probably good for us.
Am I allowed to say that?
Speak for yourself.
So thank you so much for your presentation today. And donations been made to the Rotary International Polio Plus Fund. And because of the Gates Foundation matching 2-to-1, donations will be used to vaccinate 30 children. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's not for you. The check's in the mail. So pick, please. No looking. That's the one.
This is the one.
Last three.
Last three, 817.
Ooh, that's close. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Must be present. All right. Thank you again, Dr. Mindy. Okay, we got lots of announcements here today. Jerry Wilford, you get to go first. Yeah.
You probably all know that the monies that we give to the Rotary Foundation, 3 years gets invested, and 3 years later, a lot of that money comes back to our district that allows us to write grants. And so I met with Betsy Alexander and Kevin Meiser this week, and we talked about grants. And we'd like to invite any other members in the club that would like to be involved in helping us write grants. I wrote, I don't know how many, I've lost track since 1986, but I wrote a lot of them. And it would be really nice to have some other people knowledgeable about the grants. And I always try to get some of our monies back. That's how we get a return on our investment. In fact, I write so many that if the district has monies left over, they call me personally and say, Jared, can you write a grant? So, which is great, because I usually have one. And I want to open it up that if any of you that you have a project or an entity that we can write a grant for, let me know, because from year to year, years ago, when I first came to this district, they would give us a date, and at 12 midnight, if you didn't submit a grant, you didn't get it. I mean, 8 hours later, the money's all gone. Now they've got maybe 110,000 left, and they call you and say, "Hey, can you write another grant?" Because if we don't use the monies, they have to turn it back over to the Rotary Foundation. So we want to definitely keep the monies in our district if we can. So if any of you really have a desire to learn more about the grant process and how it works, I would love to have you meet with us and join us in some meetings, and we'll educate you on how to go about doing it. Okay, thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, just real quick, Jerry, and I know Betsy's probably thought about this too, but just maybe a training session where people who are interested could get together and learn from you and how you've done it. I'd be more than happy to be part of that.
Okay.
That'd be great.
The district, I actually, you can go online and see the district training that they just did here a few weeks ago. So that I could give you the link where you can just go in and do that. Because it's training from the district that tells you all the ins and outs about grants and the different grants. You know, there's local grants, international grants, and global grants. And the local and international are really easy. I mean, they're just like a 3 or 4 page form. The global grants can be up to 15 to 20 forms. So, but anyway, if you'd like to learn more about it, I'll be glad to, get you connected. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bill Leeper's going to update us on the peach sales.
On your table is some of the peach flyers, the little peach flyers. Take one with you so that you remember to get online and order your peaches. We are tracking pretty well, and the majority of the orders don't come in until the last minute. I'm asking you guys not to wait till the last minute. So it would be very nice to have a better feel for how many we're going to have earlier than later. Sound good? Thanks, guys.
Order the semi-truck.
All right, Connie, you want to give us an update, or Kevin, you want to give us an update on the Afghan family?
Yeah, you put it down. I'm glad that I sent out the urgent request because of the broken washer. And then by a miracle, literally, a dear neighbor of mine said, oh, I can't see a woman with a family of 10 without a washer. So she is making a contribution to our foundation, and the washer is being delivered Monday. So that is fabulous. She's not even a virgin. No. Not yet. And Katie was here before. Katie, well, not Katie Kelly, yes, right. And she has volunteered to help. And during the summer, she's going twice a week and teaching everybody in the family, in addition to, of course, what Kevin is doing. And tomorrow I'm gonna help the kid get the shots, and the baby get his shots and all of that kind of stuff. So we're moving right along. And if anybody happens to have a nice wall clock that would be in a living room or something, and they want to get rid of it because it's been in their storage for forever or whatever, you do? Perfect. I could use it because she wants one tomorrow. Okay.
Keep getting better.
I know. Yes.
When do we get to meet him?
Oh, that's a different deal. Number one, they don't speak English yet, and they are concerned about family that's in Afghanistan. So any pictures or anything like that, it's really scary. And allegedly the Afghani government kind of looks at Facebook and says, oh, we've got this person and now they're in the States, so we can hit them up for whatever. So there's some dangers with that. Hopefully in a while we can, but, okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Oh, English is the second language. And culture and the world in America.
Miss Social is going to give us an update on our next fun event. And Robin is Miss Social number 2. Terry, you're in on this social stuff as well? Oh.
No, just the two of us right now. Oh, you want to talk, do you want to do that first? Oh, okay. Even though Robin, as of right now, might be soon, even though Robin has not got her regular
Blue bed.
whatever, red, blue, yellow, green, whatever color. She's still helping me a lot, and so we're co-chairs of the social committee now. So we went through a bunch of stuff that's coming up. Everybody knows that next Thursday is the party or the meeting at my house. If you don't know that, look at your club runner, because it tells all the information on it. Okay, so far we have 74 people. Make sure you bring bagged chairs or just regular chairs, doesn't matter, but I do not have 74
Hey, Jay,
chairs.
a shuttle coming from somewhere to park?
Shuttle.
Huh?
A shuttle.
Shuttle.
Oh, and John is gonna organize a shuttle.
We're gonna do it from downtown Denver.
Make the train.
It's not that far, guys, really, honest to God. You can, yeah. Oh, the parking's fine too. Yeah, we have a side yard, you just stick the cars and stuff like that. So if anybody has any questions on next Thursday, just pray for 80-degree weather and no rain. And then the other thing is we have, why don't you tell them about the horses, August 8th?
You know, I signed up to help with social. I signed up, you know, when you're doing your application and you express your interest, I said social. I wasn't expecting to be a co-chair.
There's only two of us.
But there could be more.
Oh.
Yeah, so volunteer, right? So I was immediately put to work, and I guess this horse race thing is up next. And I don't have any of my notes about
But that's okay. How many have gone to the horse racing? Okay. How many have gone to the actual horse racing over Arapahoe Park? Okay. They kind of cut back with COVID and this and that. So what we planned is I called, and Monday and Tuesdays are free. It's free to get in. It's free to sit in those there's little tables that go like this in the club section. So you can sit there, you don't have to pay for it. We are not organizing this. It is August 8th, and the first race is at 1 o'clock. So we were thinking about maybe getting there around 11:30, something like that. You can get a hot dog or hamburger, drinks, and just kind of socializing for a little while. And then it really is fun, I think. But anyway, so that's the scoop.
All right, anything else on social?
I don't think so. Okay, she wants to do something. Terry, I'm sorry. That's okay.
Get by the mic there.
Okay.
$25 for our.
Oh, that's let me just discuss that. When you sign up, you have like member one. Let's use Kyle and I example. I better not get charged, but I just want to say. Let's say member is Jane. No, let's not use me.
Just use
because,
Scott.
Huh?
Use Scott and his wife.
Let's use Scott and Carolyn. Okay, member is Scott. That's a regular meeting, so there won't be any information about that or anything. You just get charged whether you came here or you come to my house. It's the fourth Thursday, so it's just like a regular meeting. Carolyn will be charged $25, and I think we are going to just put it as another line on your bill.
Scott pay. She gets charged, Scott gets.
I don't know, maybe she pays for everything. I pay for everything.
All right,
So it'll be another line, and it'll say Carolyn at the night party.
Okay. So Robin, as our new member, is getting her red badge today, and I'm happy to present it to her. I'm going to be her mentor, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know you.
Yeah.
I don't know if she volunteered to do this, but she's really good. I'm very lucky. Oh, thank you.
We are delighted to have you in our club, Robin. And thanks for jumping into a leadership role before the red badge. Community service, want to give some updates?
What I want to let everyone know is that IFCS is starting again in August, the second Wednesday of every month, and we do need volunteers. And Elizabeth needs bags for Tribal Angel Heart. And Rotary Leaders is coming up soon, starting in August. Is that correct, honey? No.
School. Yeah. It's just starting, but they will not be ready to start Rotary Leaders until probably later in September.
Okay, well, later in September.
Elizabeth, one more thing, two more things, whatever you
I
want.
went to the I Can Bike this past week, which was really fun, and I hope next time it's held that you guys, a lot more people will sign up for it. Also, I've talked to Help Help, and they are enjoying their forklift tremendously, and they love it.
Did they let you drive it? No. Oh, good. That's good. Thanks for those updates. Military committee, I think most of those guys are either they're in San Antonio at the NCOA National or International Conference. I think Jerry's going to get a big award there. So more to come on that. Youth services, Kelsey, you got anything to report?
You're out of school, so. No, the district committee's getting ready to start meeting and doing things, and the clubs are off to full swing. We'll have the conference planning coming up, and the kids run everything, so it's fabulous.
All right, awesome. All right, well, it's almost time for the auction. And I think you know what the auction item is this week. However, there's an announcement about a special auction item for next week. So one of the members in the club is planning and will be donating a week in the mountains at a Keystone condominium, 2-bedroom, close to the river run action, where the action is in the summertime. There's one specific week that you have to use this. So start thinking about these dates. August 11 is a Thursday. And it goes for 1 week, so August 18. You could use it for the full week, for the weekend, whatever number of days you might want to use this condo.
That's this August, not next year.
That is August in 3 weeks or whenever August 11. Some people are not as busy as you, Scott. May have some free time the weekend of whatever that is, August 12, 13, 14, 15, something like that. So our auctioneer will give you more details about that, but again, that's coming up next week, because that's when that's going to get auctioned off. Okay, so let's give Bob a big round while he comes up here for the big painting auction.
Okay, as you know, Teresa and Arthur donated this beautiful picture. Teresa, you want to give a little run-up on that again?
Yeah, sure. This has a lot to do with mental health, which is why anything that we receive for this is going to the mental health committee. And it was given to my daughter Cheyenne after she was in Children's Hospital after a psychotic breakdown by a friend and neighbor who had gone through many mental health challenges her entire life. So when we came home, she arrived at our door and had this for us. And it's been in our home for the past 10 years. And I just wanted to pass it on. And I thought it would be a good idea to raise some money for mental health. It's awesome.
Okay, very good. So let's raise a little money for the kids. One bid of 100, bid them on $100, do it, $100. One bid of 100, I got 100, 120, one bid of 120, now 120, bid them on $120, do it. Anybody 120, I got 120, 140, anybody 140, bid them on 140, I got 140, now 160. Bid them on a $160, do it, anybody 160, I got 160, 180, anybody 180. I need $180, do it, bid them on 180, bid them on 180. I got 180, 200, we need 200, bid them on $200, do it. If you got a winter place in Florida, this would be a great place to hang it.
Is that a bid?
No, I already bought mine. Bid them on $200, do it, I need 200, bid them on $200, do it, one bid of 200. I got 200, one bid of 220, anybody 220, bid them on 220, anybody 220, bid them on 220. I need 210, anybody 210, bid them on 210. I got 200, need 210, bid them on 210. Bid them on $210, do it, 200 going once, 200 going twice, sold, $200.
That was awesome, Bob, and I can see my father smiling there. He said this is one of his favorite parts of the meeting is to listen to that guy with a hat. So
I didn't see him bidding.
well, I think his microphone's out. You want to say something, Dad? You're welcome to.
Yes, I would. I'd like to show the club something, okay?
Oh, he's on
He's
mute.
got his own picture. Now, this is a certificate. I was made an honorary
Hold on
member.
1 second. You're on mute, so just hang on.
I'm sorry. I'm not on mute. Can you hear me? Okay. I want to show the club something. I was made an honorary member of the joining club here on July the 1st. I was very honored. But the interesting part of the presentation is they had no frame for the award, and so I had to buy my own frame for it. So it's the first time in the history of Rotary anybody was made an honorary member without a frame for the award. Nice to see all of you, and that was a great auction again today. I love that guy.
Yeah, so we missed the first part, but my father was honored at one of his old clubs that he was a member of in the Fox Chapel area, and they made him an official honorary member of the club with no frame, right? Not yet.
Honorary. What's in the frame?
And I also want to say welcome to Peter. We know that you're recovering, and we're glad that you could join us. Sorry for my slow response on getting you the link. And I saw Connie Dix. I think she was on there for a while. So, I missed him. Okay, with all of that, I think we're down to happy bucks. Who would like to start off with a big happy buck or 10 maybe? Terry?
I have 16 happy bucks here. For Elizabeth, thank you so much for supporting mental health. Also for our new member, Robin, I know she's going to be wonderful. And for Claudia and Arthur, who are up at Rhino right now as senior counselors, I hope you're coming over.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, that's a big week for Claudia and Arthur up there. Oh, good.
Are we going table by table or you?
However you want to do it, you're in charge.
All right. Two big ones. Went and played golf yesterday with my grandson and granddaughter for their first time.
Oh.
I'm a happy buck. I just circulating the Western Welcome Week sign-up sheet, so I welcome everybody to sign up for the day. I know it's conflicting with peach sales and every distribution, but I could use your support.
And the date on that, again, for some people who don't know, it's August 20th?
20th, yeah, August 20th, Saturday.
Yeah.
So it's circulating around here somewhere. Sign up.
Got Eric? I've got 12 here. Because I went a little bit nuts on the. So we're happy our little dog made it back from the hospital. He was in the ER. He has chronic kidney disease, but thankfully they think he'll be around for a little bit longer. So just blessed to be able to bring him home. I'm just very happy for that.
$20 because my last day at Allstate is August 31st.
20 bucks because the Elderly Brothers have a gig for working Jake Jab's party on August 15th.
Wow.
I have a couple Wednesdays. I went to San Diego for a visit of my old hometown. I get to see my old house, which I sold 3 years ago, and they
made a lot of changes. But even better, my Rotary Club is having a social Wednesday night at my old tennis club. So I'm just gonna be really homespun for a little bit. I'll miss you all, and I look forward to coming back the next week and seeing you again.
All right, have fun out there.
Last time I saw you in Ireland, and they had a great trip. Your stories about that another time. A lot of pubs, I'll tell you that. And then I came down with COVID. I had my birthday, tested negative this morning. And so I'm here. A lot's happened in a while. Yay! By the way, and we think it's from all the Guinness you drink.
Trump didn't tell us about that.
Right, this back in our hometown, it is very number 3, and I wanted to go to visit the Rotary Club there. It was after the 4th of July. The 4th was on a Monday, and then the 6th was on a Wednesday to go. And I tried to email the president or somebody else to say I did there. The emails didn't work. I went to the club meeting anyway, and it's in a community center. Upstairs, nobody's there, everybody's coming. But they had set up the catering, and the food was all there, it was hot. Everything was there, but apparently I think they canceled the meeting, but didn't cancel. And I say I couldn't get through any of the emails. I was just kind of frustrated, but it would have been fun. I just want to tell you, we can get through our email. Yeah, with people, we call people. Anyway,
Did you? How was the lunch?
It was full pork, you know.
How many did you eat? Carl, I got one. I got a couple $100. Like Phil Clark, I'm always happy on Rotary Day. It's usually the happiest day of the week for me. And I'm happy to have Mindy and Tim and Courtney and Giovanni. It's always good to have guests come back a second time, and I know you guys have been back a second time in Weston, so this is only your first visit, so we'll expect you to come back. Nice to have you here. Thank you.
Leadership opportunities abound.
I want to just thank Mindy for coming. That was a great presentation. I think everybody really benefited from it. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Any more happy bucks? Jim.
Something we're all going to hear more about. The New York Department of Health has just announced the first case of polio in Rockland County. And that's the first time in 10 years it's been in the United States. Because of our interest in keeping this down, it's something that's more of it's serious.
Yeah, we still have work to do, for sure. Okay, any more happy bucks? Okay, if not, will you please stand and join me in the four-way test? Of all the things we think fair to do, is it true?
Is it for all concerned?
Will build goodwill and better friendships.
Friendship.
And will be
And will be
beneficial to all
beneficial.
concerned. Make it fun.